And we are back, folks, right here on hashtag AskGSM for September 26th, or the week of September 26th. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. I apologize in advance for the video going up a day late. I was working all day yesterday. I probably should have planned ahead and I woke up earlier and recorded before I left for work, but I couldn't. I actually just got back in time for Raw. I was supposed to get back around like 9, but I ended up getting back at like literally 7:59. And I got back just in time, turned on Raw. Not an amazing episode, but it was all right. The post-Clash of Champions show, which we have plenty of questions about here today as we move forward into No Mercy in a few weeks, and then Survivor Series, Hell in a Cell, all that other great stuff. Hell in a Cell, which I will be at on the Go to Hell tour with Mr. Marceau at the end of next month, a little over a month away, so cannot wait for that. But at any rate, hashtag AskGSM here today, guys. As always, if you want to send in a question, you can tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Sunday nights or on the wall itself, or you can leave a comment on this very video, and I'll be sure to include your question in next week's edition. Let's get started here with the first question from Blue Eye Disorder, my brother Jason. Be sure to follow him here on YouTube at Blue Eye Disorder. Some great videos, especially in the last week. Great friend of mine. Check out his stuff. Awesome stuff. So his question was, or first question, do you think that adding another title to NXT, like a television European title, or creating a new title would be great to help build lower card guys? I've gotten this question before, and I've always said yes. I'm always hesitant about introducing new titles. I mean, now with the brand split, it makes sense because you have, a mid-card title for one show, a mid-card title for the next tag. You know what I mean? Tag titles, women's titles. That's fine. But with NXT, they have such a small roster. Right now, I would say no, just because their roster is so depleted after the main roster took so many of their stars that I don't know right now that it's really necessary. But maybe like a year or two ago, I feel like a championship like that would have been perfect for like a Tyler Breeze. And I love the idea of a television title when done right. The WWE has never had one, surprisingly. I know TNA used to have one. They abused that. Within weeks, that title meant nothing. That was the old fucking awful little red toy belt after a while, that terrible championship. WCW was really, I guess ECW too. Did ECW have one? I'm pretty sure they did. I know Ring of Honor has one right now, which I love. That's kind of like their mid-card championship. I would love if WWE had something like that. Maybe not on the main roster, because we already have the Intercontinental and United States championships. But in NXT, I like the idea. Just maybe not right now with the Raw. Like, who would hold it? Buddy Murphy, you know what I mean? Ty Dillinger seems to be getting a push even without a championship, you know what I mean? So I don't know if it's really necessary right now, but maybe at some point down the line, I'd say that would be a pretty cool idea. And I know the Solid Monster has pitched this before, but like a Dusty championship, or a Dusty Classic title, or a Dusty, which would actually make sense, because the TV championship, like I said, has WCW roots, and you give the name the Dusty Championship or whatever, I feel like it'd be perfect. His second question, what happened to our favorite wrestler, the Drifter? Of course, being sarcastic, is Jason. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking about that no more than a few weeks ago. What the fuck happened to Elias Sampson? He got injured at the end of May. And I've never really cared for this guy under this Drifter gimmick, because it was bound to drift away at some point. It seems that's exactly what he's done, because he got hurt 4 months ago at this point with a sprained ankle or a hurt ankle or something. So I figured, okay, so he's only going to be out maybe he might even be back by TakeOver at the end in a few weeks. Obviously, not the case. Not even back for TakeOver Brooklyn too. And I'd be shocked at this point if he was back for TakeOver Toronto. And the weird thing is, I have heard no updates on Sampson whatsoever. That just goes to show how little people care about this guy. I hear updates all the time on Paige, Luke Harper, Emma, everyone else that's injured right now in NXT. If there's really many people at all, I'm trying to think. I can't really recall anyone that's currently injured, but I have heard no updates on Elias Sampson whatsoever, other than the fact that I know WWE.com put up a story when he got hurt, saying that he got hurt at some NXT Live event. That was it. I have not heard any tweets from him. I haven't even bothered to look. I was going to, but I forgot. I haven't seen any updates from like wrestling dirt sheets and stuff. I don't know. He's still with the company. He hasn't been fired from what I know. I wouldn't be shocked at this point if they did just let him go if he hasn't been on TV in months. But stay gone. I feel bad for the guy, but the gimmick sucks, so I'm glad he's kind of drifted away, so to speak. Emmanuel A., also from YouTube. What did you think about Kurt Angle's first WWE title run from No Mercy 2000 to No Way Out 2001? I remember watching some 2001 Raws, and maybe the biggest takeaway was how pathetic they made Angle look despite being champion. Example, on the first Raw of that year, Angle and Edge and Christian were randomly put into a 6-man elimination table match against Chris Jericho and the Dudleys. Not only does Angle's team lose, the match is in the middle of the show and is essentially forgotten. The whole title reign, I feel like, is essentially forgotten. I mean, I haven't yet to watch any real, late 2000, early 01 Raws or anything, but, I mean, Kurt Angle held how many championships in WWE? World championships? 4 or 5, maybe? 6? That's Jericho. I don't know. Maybe 4, I think. He was a multi-time WWE champion. He was a former World Heavyweight champion. So maybe 4 or 5. I forgot exactly what the exact number was. It was the right time, I'd say, to put the belt on him after the amazing year of 2000 that he had, the amazing rookie year that he had in WWE. The guy won the European Championship, Intercontinental Championship. I don't know if he won the tag titles that, ASAP, but he did win King of the Ring that year as well. And he was really overshadowed. I mean, if you look at it too, the weird thing was that the real storyline going on at that time, obviously, was Triple H, Rikishi, The Rock even, Stone Cold Steve Austin coming back from injury. The focus was on pretty much everything but Kurt Angle during that time. It was almost like CM Punk as WWE champion, but a lot shorter of a reign. His 434-day reign where he was not in a pay-per-view main event for pretty much all of 2012 for the most part, was the same thing with Kurt Angle. I mean, not that he wasn't in the pay-per-view main events. I'm pretty sure he was, or at least for maybe a month or two. I don't really remember. But I know that he was obviously in the main event of Armageddon, the 6-man Armageddon Hell in the Cell match that December. But even that was a clusterfuck. It was a fun match, but he was overshadowed by every other man in that match. The Undertaker, Triple H, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and even Rikishi. So I know Angle retained the title on that night, but he was far from the focus of the programming at that time. It really is forgotten. I feel like when he won the championship about a year later at Unforgiven 2001 in his home city of Philly, or Pittsburgh, I think, beating Stone Cold Steve Austin for the belt after he held the belt since WrestleMania. I think that was a lot bigger of a moment. The title reign did not last long at all. He dropped the belt maybe like 2 weeks later or whatever, or a month later, whatever it was. But I feel like even that title win is more memorable than that one just because he was far from the focus of the show at that point in time. Captain Sunshine, also from YouTube. Sometimes WWE takes heel gimmicks too far. Case in point, the Shining Stars are inviting people to Puerto Rico. That's just cruel and vulgar. Ruthless aggression and the Attitude Era never went this far. Imagine if Kane raped Alita and Snitsky, didn't just cause a miscarriage, but invited them to Puerto Rico. Or Big Bossman not only tricked Al Snow into eating his own dog, but also invited them to Puerto Rico. Wrestling is just weird these days. Not really a question, but I thought it was funny to include, so props to you, Captain Sunshine. The first KFC, also from YouTube, card prediction for Hell in the Cell. At this point in time, I know Banks and Charlotte was confirmed for next week's Raw. Same thing with TJ and Kendrick, but I'm assuming that we get some sort of rematches at the pay-per-view. For the women, I want to see them inside the cell. That's not my idea. I saw, again, the Solo Monster pitched that, and a few other people pitched that. That would be great. I mean, they're in the hometown of Sasha Banks, so they should be in the main event. Now that I think about it, why not? To main event the show, the first ever women's Hell in the Cell match would be fucking phenomenal, with Banks finally regaining the gold in her hometown of Boston. I'll be there, so that's part of the reason why I want to see a main event the show. But I feel like that match, Banks and Charlotte, probably some sort of rematch between Kendrick and Perkins, and some sort of non-finish after next week's Raw. New Day versus Sheamus and Cesaro for the tag team titles. Rusev and Reigns, obviously their match ended in a no count out this last night on Raw, so I'm assuming they're the other cell match. Maybe Owens, Jericho, and Rollins. I assume Jericho will get in there some sort. I mean, I guess I want to see them do Zayn and Jericho too, but it looks like they cut that feud short. Zayn wasn't even on Raw last night, which was even more bizarre. But it looks like they're putting Jericho in the title picture. So Jericho, Owens, Rollins. What else? Any other matches? Any other title matches? I'm trying to think. I already did the U.S. title match. I don't know. That's pretty much it for right now that I can think of. I mean, they didn't really start any news stories last night. They kind of furthered some feuds from Clash of Champions, and that was pretty much it. So I feel like those matches are almost a lock for the show come October 31st. His second question, should Cesaro and Sheamus have a stipulation for their next match? I know that you asked that after the pay-per-view, And they're not having another match. They're having a tag team title match. So that question's kind of null and void. I apologize. Again, this is one of the downsides of doing the paper or doing the show after Raw, because a lot of your questions, not that they don't make sense, but they're kind of irrelevant at this point. Brandon A, same question from last week with dream matches and same rules apply. So I can't, you put 11 matches down. I saw this question yesterday before I left for work. I can't rank all these dream matches. It would take forever at this point. I just didn't have enough time when I saw your question. But I'll go through each dream match and get my thoughts on it. So Shawn Michaels and Eddie Guerrero would have been fucking amazing. And that was supposed to happen, reportedly, which was the original plan for WrestleMania 22, but obviously Eddie passed away, so that was a no-go. But that match would have been phenomenal. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus Edge and Christian in Canada with an epic crowd, but a neutral location. Wait a second. In Canada with an epic crowd, but at a neutral location? Wouldn't Canada... Are you talking about, so they're not in, like, the home crowd, they're not in the home city of either Zayn, Owens, Edge, and Christian? I don't know exactly what you mean, but anyway... that would be a great match. Jericho versus Owen Hart, same Canadian scenario. Also would be a really good match. Bret Hart versus Kurt Angle, a match I really am ashamed we couldn't get to see just because Bret Hart had the stroke in WCW. He retired in 2000, and Kurt Angle was already kind of on the rise in WWE at that point. So had Bret Hart stuck around a few more years, him and Angle, I'm pretty sure, to clash at some point. RVD versus Jeff Hardy versus Daniel Bryan versus Ricochet versus Neville versus Rey Mysterio versus Shelton Benjamin in a Money in the Bank ladder match. That has train wreck written all over it, but in the best way possible. Broken Matt Hardy versus Bray Wyatt in a no-holds-barred match. That's an interesting one. That is an interesting one. I feel like Bray Wyatt's promos would put me to sleep in the build to the bout. But the match itself wouldn't be really that good. It's just a clash of characters, you know? It's like Taker and Bray Wyatt is a cool feud on paper, as we saw a couple years ago. But it was by no means an amazing match. You know what I mean? So the match itself would be all right. Not really a dream match, but still pretty cool, I guess, with the gimmicks involved. The Shield versus NWO, that would be pretty cool. I mean, I know the Shield would... The match wouldn't be a dream match. I mean, I could see two great stables, but the match itself wouldn't really be all that great. I mean, you have Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Hulk Hogan. Three men who are not really known to be having instant classics in the ring for the most part. And the Shield who were. So the match wouldn't be that great, but it would be a cool clash of factions. Two of the greatest factions of all time. Randy Orton versus DDP, the RKO versus Diamond Cutter. Match I'm surprised we never got to see in the early 2000s when they could have just brought back. I mean, DDP left in 01, 02, right before Orton debuted. So it would have been cool to see those two clash at some point with those finishers. I know Orton didn't have the RKO from the get-go, but it would have been cool at some point. Number 9, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus John Cena in a I Quit match. That would be a great match. CM Punk versus AJ Styles would be phenomenal, pun intended, but that would be great too. And last one, Triple H versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Not really a dream match. I mean, it'd be cool because you have two great wrestlers, but I don't really think dream match are really anything involving Triple H these days, but still a good match for what it would be. Mitch G, what is to you the most forgettable year in WWE since you've been a fan? Good question. I say this to John all the time, but it has to be either 09 or 2010. I feel like 2010 is salvaged just because it had the Nexus in the final few months, that latter half of that year. But other than that, other than the Nexus and the Miz's rise to prominence in the main event scene that year, it really was not a great year. I feel like 09 was more forgettable. I mean, other than obviously, Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. That was one match, people. That does not make a year in WWE. 09 was a lot, especially on the Raw side. John Cena, Triple H, and Orton in the championship picture was pretty much all it was. I mean, I have fond memories of that year, and I can't wait to watch Raws back from that time period because of, I was a fan of that time. They finally added most of the Raws from that year on the WWE Network, so that's awesome. But at the same time, a lot of that year was wash, rinse, and repeat with a lot of the guys in the main event scene. Really, the only great feud of that year, other than Michaels and Taker, was Jeff Hardy versus CM Punk on the Smackdown side of things. And Jericho, Rey Mysterio too. Other than that, though, not really a great year. So I would say that's probably the most forgettable year in the years that I've been a fan anyway. What are your thoughts on NXT Sanity? So I don't want to spoil anything. I did see what the group consists of, or who it consists of, a couple weeks ago when they put up the NXT spoilers. Someone posted on. I didn't go out of my way to read who it was. I just saw it on Twitter. I'm like, oh fuck, but whatever, it's cool. I like it. I think it's a cool stable. I don't know when they debut. Probably soon in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. So on one of these weeks they will debut. But I do like that composition of wrestlers, and hopefully they're successful. I mean, we really have not had a stable in NXT other than the Wyatt family in their 4-year in the 4 years history of this promotion, in the 4-year history of NXT. We have not really had a real stable other than the Wyatt family. And that was more of a trio than it was a stable, if that makes sense. So I like it. We'll see where it goes. Keep or erase, the Menagerie or Ink Inc.? Easy question, clown question. Keep Ink Inc., erase the Menagerie. You probably like the Menagerie, which is probably why you asked this, Mitch, but fucking sucked. I'm sorry. Maybe they didn't suck, but I didn't like him. I thought the Menagerie sucked. The Rebel was awful. Glad she's gone. Mike Knox, never saw anything special in him whatsoever. What was the other? The big guy. Rob Terry was never that good. Crazy Steve was really the only good part about that stable. The whole clown, I thought it was just dumb. I thought that was really stupid. I thought Crazy Steve is finally doing well in Decay, which is a lot better. If you said Decay or Ink Inc., I probably would have gone with Decay, because I think Decay's great. But the Menagerie, got to erase them. Ink Inc. with Shannon Moore and Jesse O'Neill. Jesse Neal, I think his name was Jesse Neal. Was great. They really did not get their just due in TNA. They weren't around for that long, but they never won the tag team titles, I don't think. But they were a really good tag team. I really enjoyed them when they were around. Next question. Do you think a reunited American Perfection, Dolph Ziggler and Jack Swagger, could be a good addition to SmackDown's tag team division? At the very least, it could have great matches with American Alpha down the road, right? Yeah. I mean, now that you say that, if they're not going to turn Ziggler heel, which they absolutely fucking should, but they might. If they don't do that, I could not care less about the guy on his own. I mean, I don't know if I would care that much more about him if he was in a tag team, but they have history. Ziggler and Swagger are almost like Swagger and Cesaro, a very underrated tag team that Swagger was a part of that never won tag team gold. Great wrestlers. So yeah, I would like to see a reunion of those guys. I mean, it could really add to NXT's tag team division. If the Usos win the belts at No Mercy, which I'm thinking they probably will, they could have a feud with American Alpha, and later down the line, like you said, Ziggler and Swagger, and then do a 3-way feud, and then do American Alpha, Ziggler and Swagger, or you could turn Ziggler and Swagger heel, which would be fine too. So you got a couple different options, but yeah, I would like that a lot. I know that was being discussed. I saw some report maybe a week or two ago about Dolph Ziggler being a part of some stable with American Alpha and Jack Swagger, some sort of shooter stable. Or no, sorry, Swagger, Ziggler, and Shelton Benjamin, I think, and then they might add an American Alpha later. That I would like the idea of very much. I do not care about Jack Swagger on his own, at least not right now. Same thing with Ziggler. Benjamin, I think it might be a step down for him because that guy could be wildly successful on his own, but it would be cool. I mean, it could be like a second coming of Team Angle, or Team Benjamin, you know, so I'd be on board with that. Post Clash of Champions question. Do you think Cesaro and Sheamus will perhaps given a tag team championship match on Raw? To me, it seems like it could be likely that they will be a team in the same respect that Corbin and Rhino were, i.e. teaming out of mutual respect. Well, you called it, Mitch. You called it absolutely. You sent that question in not even after Clash of Champions. You sent that in days ahead of time, and you called it. They had a draw go. They had their best of 7 series end in a draw on Sunday, and then they were given a tag team title opportunity on Monday. Now, they didn't have the title match on Raw, obviously. They'll probably have it at Hell in the Cell. But, yeah, so you're right. You absolutely got it right, so congrats to you. Chris M. from Facebook, do you think WWE should work with OVW again? I guess it'd be cool, but, you know, having in more talent. But they don't really need to. I mean, they have NXT for one thing. But more importantly, they also have these other indie-esque promotions that they're working with, specifically Evolve. That's where Gargano came from, Johnny Gargano, and he's now signed to an official contract. So they don't really need to work with OVW again. From what I've been hearing, it's not really that lively of a brand as much as it was maybe when WWE had control of it about a decade ago. They have NXT, they have other partnerships with other, you know, pro wrestling, you know, promotions and whatever. So they don't really need to work with OVW again. It would be another influx of talent, which is good, but it's not really that necessary. At Cody Collier 37, what would you like to be next for Rusev? Well, it looks like right now, what's next for Rusev is a rematch with Roman Reigns at Hell in the Cell, probably inside Hell in the Cell. Beyond that, which I'm not really looking forward to, I mean, I guess it makes sense, just because the feud is going on long enough to justify it being inside Hell in the Cell, but their matches, the Clash of Champions match was good. The Raw match bored me to fucking tears. I mean, then again, Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt had a couple of boring matches, but then again, they had a great Hell in a Cell match. So maybe they'll create magic inside the cell, who knows? But beyond that, I really don't know. I'd be shocked if they gave the belt to Rusev inside the cell. So I don't know where they're going with that. I don't know where they're going with him. That's the thing. Beyond this feud, I don't really know what else they would do with him. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a feud of Sami Zayn or something. I'm not exactly sure, but it does not look good. Now that Rusev is no longer the United States champion, the future does not look good to Rusev for right now. Does not look good for Rusev right now just because Roman Reigns has his championship. He's probably not winning it back anytime soon. And beyond that, I don't even think WWE knows what's next for Rusev right now in WWE and Raw. Mr. Singleton 16, what do you think about the stage? What do you think about these stage designs for the pay-per-views? How come they're similar to the weekly shows? Because they're lazy. I love the SummerSlam set because there's something new. We haven't seen that kind of set ever before. It was different from the norm. Me and John John and I were very disappointed with last year's SummerSlam set and how how bland it was, how basic it was. This year they really switched it up, and then they used the set for Raw for the pay-per-views. Last night or Sunday, I wasn't even really paying attention to the pay-per-view set on Sunday, to be honest. It probably was the basic set, but it would have been cool if they went a little bit more out with it. Was always one of my favorite sets, the Night of Champions set, or now Clash of Champions, whatever. They would have banners near the top of the stage with every active championship in WWE. Maybe they did this on Sunday. I don't really remember. I don't think so anyway. But they would have banners with every active title in WWE, tag titles, mid-card titles, blah, blah, blah. Every championship that was being defended on that night. So I always thought that was cool. Maybe they did it this year. I don't know. But it would have been cool if they brought that back on Sunday. Maybe they did. I don't really remember. But yeah, they're kind of getting a little bit lazy with their pay-per-view set designs. And before, it was a matter of, we're cutting back for the network. Well, that was 2.5 fucking years ago. At this point, I think it's time to move on and start innovating with your sets and whatnot. His second question, did you used to read the WWE magazines? If so, what were some of your favorite issues, or what were some of the issues that you collected? I did. I did a whole random video blog on this 2 years ago. If you go back a little bit further in the playlist of random video blogs, you can find my spiel on, the whole story of my WWE magazine journey, I guess, in that they closed down that year. I put up the video right after they closed down. They stopped distributing the magazine. But yeah, I was a big fan of WWE magazine. I was one of the few people that still read it when it went out of business, right before it went out of business. I still have all the issues at my house. I mean, it wasn't a thing where I would pick it up every once in a while. I had every edition, pretty much every edition from when I almost started watching. My mom got me a subscription for Christmas in 2008. And I started watching in April of 2008. So my first installment was December of 2008. And then I got a subscription that would be renewed every year. I would get it every month. So I had pretty much every edition from late 2008 to the month of September in 2014, if you can believe that. So it was a real bittersweet end to the WWE magazine because I always enjoyed reading them. I mean, later on, I didn't really have that much time as I got older, and I haven't really had much time to let alone read a book, much less a magazine or whatever. But I would collect them. I mean, a lot of the posters that you see in my room, that in my dorm room and stuff, that I post pictures of all the time, that I do in like videos and shit, are from WWE magazine. I'm thinking like this Team CM Punk poster, definitely from WWE magazine. Ultimate Warrior poster, definitely from WWE magazine. This Jericho poster, I'm the best in the world at what I do, probably from WWE magazine. I have a slew of other posters I can't really hang up, don't have the room to hang up, but they're all from WWE magazine. So I love the magazine, loved reading the articles, loved it for the free posters, and I still have every single one in my room back at home. At Wrestling Addict, what happened between John Cena and Mickie James in 2007 or 2008 that got her fired? Well, that really wasn't what got her fired. She left the company in 2010, and that was reportedly because she was missing flights. She was just... I mean, remember the whole Piggy James angle and how amazing that was? Obviously, I'm being sarcastic, but that was because officials pretty much had it out for Mickie James at that point in time. That was just straight up bullying. They really misused her in the first few months of 2010, really because they couldn't really care for her. They didn't really care for her all too much, which is why when she won the belt in like a minute at Royal Rumble, she held the belt for maybe 2 weeks. She got injured, I know. But beyond that, they did nothing with Mickie James. The incomparable Mickie James did nothing of note in her final few months of the company, unfortunately. So that was what got her fired, because she was not really all that popular backstage at the time that she left. And it didn't really seem like she cared too much either. But the whole thing with John Cena, from what I understand, I know Kenny Dykstra, Ken Doane was involved in that. I think they were in a relationship, but she was cheating on him with John Cena. And I think Cena might have been seeing someone at that time before he later got married to his high school sweetheart, which is when they mysteriously stopped seeing each other. So I don't really know. I mean, I know they played it up on TV too. And that really went nowhere. That went nowhere on TV, but it was weird. So yeah, that it's not what got her fired. I can't really give you the whole details because I can't give you all the details just because I was not watching at that point in time, so I'm not really all that knowledgeable about the situation. But I do know there was a lot of controversy surrounding the fact that they were dating, and she was probably cheating on him with John Cena. So I don't want to say anything I'm not sure about, but I'm pretty sure that was what happened. You have to look it up. I'm not exactly sure. At Swagzio, was Clash of Champions better than Backlash? No, I thought Backlash was better. I feel like the overall positive reaction, there was much more of a positive overall reaction to Backlash from the fans than there was Clash of Champions. Clash of Champions was a really good wrestling show. A lot of good wrestling on the show. Some lame-ass finishes, though. Backlash, other than Kane beating Bray Wyatt, which was mind-bogglingly stupid, other than that, it was a good show. It was a great show, really, with a lot of great wrestling, clean finishes. The main event didn't have a clean finish, but AJ winning the belt was worth it, so I didn't really have an issue with that. So yeah, Backlash, I feel like, was a lot better of a show than Clash of Champions, in my opinion. What's next for New Day in Gallows and Anderson? So New Day is apparently headed for a feud with Cesaro and Sheamus. Gallows and Anderson, don't know, don't care. They have really managed to make me not care about these guys, which is sad, because they really came in with a lot of momentum when they arrived on the WWE scene back in April, and the whole club thing was cool, but once they split those guys up, they were doomed to fail. They went on to do nothing. They went for the tag team titles, and they lost every single fucking time. So, again, that was really a waste, but yeah, Gallows and Anderson are now, I think, have beaten the Wyatt family as the biggest losers in WWE. Other than Bray Wyatt, I think New Day and Gallows and Anderson might be the biggest losers hands down in the WWE right now. At 123 Egg, got 2 questions here. First one being, was Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins overbooked? Yeah, a little bit. They had a referee bump, a second referee, Stephanie McMahon, come down. They had cheating, all this Jericho interference. It was way overbooked. I'm fine with Owens retaining, because he should have. But they really went above and beyond in delivering a dirty-ass finish that when they really could have done just Jericho interfering, and then Rollins getting distracted, and then Owens winning off of that. They really did not go to the lengths. They did not need to go to the lengths they did in order to have Owens retain the title. So it was overbooked. I enjoyed the match. A lot of people were saying that it was disappointing. I didn't think it was all that disappointing. I enjoyed it, but the finish was lame, though. I will give you that. Will WWE blame Kevin Owens for the ratings decline? It wouldn't surprise me, but it's not his fault. It has never been the champion's fault. It's always, not even football, it's just the product. I mean, football's always been around, so it's not like, oh, football are taking away from the ratings, and they are, but football has always been around, so nothing is new, and ratings are lower now than they have ever been for Monday Night Raw. So, it's not Kevin Owens' fault. It wasn't Seth Rollins' fault last year when he was champion during this point in time. It wasn't CM Punk's fault in the fall of 2011. Or in the fall of 2012, or Daniel Bryan, and so on and so forth. It's never the champion's fault. That might have been the case 20 years ago when, Hulk Hogan's drawing the house, brother. He's really the reason why your ratings are so high and the house is so big and whatever. The income is so great for these house shows and Monday Night Raw and whatever else. That's not the case anymore. People don't tune in to Raw to see just the champion. They tune in to see WWE. That has been the case for years now. For many, many years. So it is not Owens' fault. They might blame it on him anyway, knowing this company. They're not going to admit defeat and say, oh, it's probably because the creative is not really all that strong right now. But they probably will blame Owens, even though it's not his fault. And next question from Carson Rush 2. Why do you think New Day are still tag team champions? They're stale and boring in my opinion. I know that's some people's opinion. That's not mine. They're not as hot as they once were. I'll give you that. But they're still good. I mean, I'd rather have them as tag team champions than pretty much anyone else right now, other than Enzo and Cass. On the Raw side of things, it could be much worse. They've deserved this long title run. They've been great tag team champions. They've pretty much faced everybody. Haven't had many great matches, but still they're really entertaining. They try to be entertaining more often than not. They are more slightly stale than they were maybe a year ago. Definitely more stale than they were a year ago. But still, I'm fine with them as tag team champions if they want to keep the belts on them to break the demolition record or whatever. That's just fine and dandy. So I like New Day a lot, so I'm not really as down on them as some people are, as apparently at Carson Rush 2 is. But I'm sure we will get new tag team champions crowned to kind of breathe new life into the tag team division before long anyway. At Sean Markistic, match of the night last night at Clash of Champions. It's got to be Cesaro Sheamus. I really enjoyed the women's match. Jericho Zayn was also really good. But I got to go with Cesaro Sheamus. I thought was just a really, really good match, and those guys stole the show for as many matches as they have had. And I said this in the days leading up to the show, that for as many matches that these guys have had, going into this pay-per-view, that they would save the best for last. And they definitely did that on Sunday night by delivering just a show stealer of a match. So really good stuff. Other than the ugly dive that Cesaro took, which was completely unnecessary, it was a great match. Which was better, Champions or Clash of Champions or Backlash? I already said that Backlash was definitely better in my opinion. Did you like the ending to Cesaro versus Sheamus? I would have rather just had Cesaro win, but it looks like they have really no plans for him to be a single star anytime soon anyway. So I'd rather just have him do the tag team with Sheamus. Maybe there's some potential there for that to be fun. And then I'd rather have that be the case than have him just win the series than lose the U.S. title match to Roman Reigns or Rusev or whoever. So in retrospect, I do like the finish. It's something unique, different, I guess. And their tag team could be fun. So I'm reserving further judgment until we see more of what this tag team is all about. Final question from At The Average Grunt. Who do you want to see beat Miz for the Intercontinental Championship? I'm hoping for Cena, Zayn, or Cesaro myself. So we went on to note that I know Zayn and Cesaro are not on Raw or not on SmackDown, but he hopes they transfer from Raw to SmackDown Live to take on Miz for the belt. That's the thing I've said before. Cena, no. I really don't want to see. I know you're probably thinking that I know, and maybe at some point, but I'd rather just. That's so Cena, that's such Cena beating Rusev-esque. You have this great thing going with Rusev being built up for a year, and then he loses to John Cena, and he never rebounded. He only rebounded a year later when Cena was injured, of all things. So, when Cena was gone. So, anyway, I do not want to see. We've already seen Cena Miz so many times. I don't care to see the feud. I want to see Cena win the belt at some point just to say that he was a Triple Crown champion. He's been U.S. champion, obviously, before, but that does not count in the official wrestling Triple Crown for WWE people, for WWE superstars. It's a World Championship, a WWE title, or a mid-card title, specifically the IC title, and the Tag Team Championships. So, yeah, I'd rather not it be Cena. Zayn or Cesaro I'm cool with. We've already seen Miz and Cesaro a lot, so probably not Cesaro. Zayn I think would be cool. I know we saw Miz and Zayn a few times going into Extreme Rules, but not a one-on-one feud. So I'd be fine with that. Shelton Benjamin has always been my pick. I would say keep the belt on Miz until Benjamin's back. And I think to break the record, Miz has to hold the belt until July 3rd or 4th anyway. I think it's July 3rd. So, which I think is a Sunday, which I've said before. So bring back Great American Bash, do it on that Sunday, and have him break the record or face whoever en route to breaking the record of the Honky Tonk Man. So I'd rather see it be Shelton Benjamin. I know Benjamin wouldn't really benefit just because he's already established. But, yeah, if it's not Zayn, then probably Benjamin. Either one of those two would work for me. Because other than that, there's no one on the SmackDown roster that I want to see beat Miz for the belt. Apollo Crews, yes, but he's already lost twice to The Miz. Decisively, no less. So that's not happening. But yeah, either Zayn or Shelton Benjamin, in my opinion, should be the ones to beat Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. So that does it, folks, for hashtag AskGSM here today for September 26th, 27th, whatever you want to make it. I know I'm filming this on Tuesday, so technically the 27th, but we should be back to a Monday schedule starting next week. Now that I know what time to wake up and before I leave for work and shit like that. So I'll probably wake up earlier, just record it before I leave, and then it could be up before Raw, after Raw, whatever. Maybe even earlier on in the day if I get it on, if I distribute it earlier. So we'll see. But yeah, just this should not be a regular thing. I made a mistake yesterday in waking up too late, and I didn't know if I had enough time to record the show. So anyway, if you want to send in a question, be sure to tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskJSM. Find me on the Facebook machine as well, on the Page at facebook.com/Graham.Juicem.Matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Sunday nights or on the wall itself, or you can leave a comment on this very video. I'll be sure to include your question in next week's edition. So with all that being said, guys, have an amazing rest of your week. Looking forward to No Mercy in 2 weeks. We have ROH All-Star Extravaganza on Friday, which I will be at as well. Cannot wait for that. And also Bound for Glory on Sunday. So we got Clash of Champions this past Sunday, ROH All-Star Extravaganza on Friday, Bound for Glory on Sunday, and then No Mercy the following Sunday. It's going to be a busy-ass couple weeks. That's all I got to say. But anyway, guys, enjoy your week. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch you folks down the road.